Hey guys, welcome to question FM363 of the Further Maths Fortify study guide. This question says, a restaurant requires at least one waiter or waitress for every 7 tables seated. Let X be the number of waiters/waitresses needed, and let Y be the number of tables seated. Which one of the following is the inequality that represents this situation? Now, the method I'm going to go through is more of a fault checking method. It's for students who maybe aren't as confident in transferring a worded statement like this into an inequality. So it's a way that you can, I guess, test your potential answers to try and find the correct one if you aren't as confident. So what we're going to start off by doing is creating 2 scenarios. We're going to create one that satisfies the scenario we've been given and one that doesn't satisfy. And we're going to use these 2 conditions with each of the inequalities that we've been given, looking for one of them to satisfy the equation, or I should say the inequality, and the other to not satisfy the inequality. And if we're left with one, that is most likely our correct answer. If we maybe had a couple, then we can tighten up these, but we'll talk about that maybe a little later. So the condition that is going to satisfy this setting, so we must have at least one waiter or waitress for every 7 tables seated. So having 2 waiters or waitresses for 7 tables should satisfy that, because that's at least one. In fact, it's more than what we need. So that should satisfy the equation. No reason that you can't have 1 and 7. I just thought this might make it a little bit easier to see the difference. And we're going to have another set of conditions that doesn't satisfy. So we're going to have 1 waitress or waiter taking care of 9 seated tables. So that doesn't meet that, because we need at least 1 for every 7. And we've got 1 on more than 7. So we would need a second person involved to satisfy that condition. So from here, we're going to take these 2 sets of conditions and just start substituting them into the inequalities. So A's inequality is y is less than or equal to 7x. So we'll start off with our first set of conditions that should satisfy this equation. So it should be correct, which is that we're going to insert in. So we have 7 is less than or equal to 7 times 2. So 7 ends up being less than or equal to 14. And that's correct. So that has satisfied that inequality. And one that we're looking to not satisfy, if we start substituting these values, is 9 is less than or equal to 7 times 1, which ends up being 9 is less than or equal to 1. And that is incorrect, which is exactly what we want. So A is looking like a potential answer, but of course we're going to go through the rest and make sure that they're not the correct answer. So moving down to B, B's inequality is y is greater than or equal to x over 7. So substituting our conditions that should satisfy this, 7 is greater than or equal to 2 over 7. That's going to be true. Because this isn't even 1, and 7 is definitely greater than 1. And substituting the one that shouldn't satisfy, we're going to get 9 is greater than or equal to 1 over 7. Now this actually does satisfy that inequality, and it's not supposed to satisfy that inequality. So that inequality does not describe our situation. C. The inequality that we're given with option C is y is greater than or equal to 7x. So, introducing the conditions that should satisfy, we get 7 is greater than or equal to 7 times 2, which ends up saying that 7 is greater than or equal to 14. This is straight off the bat incorrect. It doesn't satisfy this inequality, and so right there we can say that C does not satisfy. Well, the inequality given to us in C is not correct. Option D says 7y is greater than or equal to x. Putting in our first condition, we should get that 7 times 7 is greater than or equal to 2, or 49 is greater than or equal to 2, which is correct, does satisfy that inequality. And the one that shouldn't satisfy it, we get 7 times 9 is greater than or equal to 1, which says 63 is greater than or equal to 1. This satisfies that, and it shouldn't. This one should not satisfy, meaning that D is also not our correct answer. Finally, we have the inequality given to us in E, which is y is less than or equal to x over 7. Taking the conditions that should satisfy, we have 7 is less than or equal to 2 over 7, which of course 7 is not less than 2 over 7. This isn't our inequality, which leaves us fairly certain that A is our correct answer. Now, if you were to go through this process and find that 2 of your answers can both satisfy the inequality, what you might try doing is tightening up your equation that can satisfy. So for example, the difference between y being less than 7x, it could be you have one option that's y is less than or equal to 7x, and another one that says y is less than 7x. And by making sure that the condition just satisfies the inequality, you might be able to distinguish between the two of them. So for example, this one that satisfies the inequality, we could tighten that up and make that one waiter or waitress for 7 tables, and that should be able to help you distinguish between the two of them. So you can do that from the start if you feel confident enough. Otherwise, this is a nice sort of simple method for figuring out which of these is going to be the correct inequality. If you guys have any questions for us, please leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.